All right, welcome everyone. Doug is our guest today. Doug, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and you can get started whenever you're ready.
Perfect. Thanks, Kelly. Hey, everybody. Like you said, my name's Doug. I have been in software for about 8 years, took a sort of non-traditional route, which is why I was sort of initially interested in what Callie was putting together. And I also had a couple mutual connections as well. But I'm going to walk through kind of a quick high level on sort of who I am and where I came from, why, well, you don't have to care, but why you might be interested in kind of what I've done, and specifically what I like to go over is sort of my experience with the software industry, and then really entering the workforce. That's really where I think my experience is well suited for that, in terms of just kind of what I've done. So like I said, about 8 years in software. I kind of cut my teeth in QA automation. I worked for Paychex, which is a payroll company. They're sort of like a smaller version of ADP. I'm based in Rochester, New York, and they're local here. So I sort of was able to network my way into that. And then after doing that for a little bit, I got into front end engineering. That's really where I kind of found my passion, which hopefully I think a lot of you guys may have had similar experiences with that. But I just opened the dev console too many times at my day job, and had fun just kind of changing the colors and playing around with CSS. So after doing that for a little while, on the front end side, I went to work for a startup, and that was kind of my second professional outing on a front end engineer doing full stack application work, for a content management company. And then from there, actually, I went from pre-sales and partner engineering, which is kind of a blended technical and sort of sales type of role. And then I ended up eventually getting into product management, which is what I do today.
Can you
So
explain sales engineering a little more? I just heard about it at work and it kind of blew my mind a little bit. So I want to make sure everybody knows too, unless I'm
yeah,
gaslighting everybody here and you already know.
yeah, no, for sure. So, and I was not aware that that was an option either. But it is essentially, there's two kind of flavors. There's sales engineering for pre-sales, which is probably the more typical route. So you accompany the salesperson a lot of times on sort of demos of the software, and you are the sort of technical expert. So a lot of times as a sales engineer, I would be brought in after the sale is sort of progressed. Maybe even signed a contract. And so my job is to kind of um, analyze what they have going on, what they're looking to achieve with our software, and say, yes, we can do that. No, we can't. Which kind of where the pre-sales comes in, of saying, hey, we're a good fit or we're not. So the salesperson's job is to get them in the room. My job is to assess whether we can do what they're asking us to do on the technical side. But yeah, super cool. It's a nice role because there's usually no travel involved. And a lot of times there's commission on top, which is very cool.
Ooh,
Um,
is that something where you would work at a company and then internally move to like a sales position because you know the product really well, or couldn't you get hired as a sales engineer from the jump?
you could do both. Typically, I just say in general, making the change from hands-on keyboard or really any role, it's much easier to do in-house because they know you and they trust you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you could totally be hired as a sales engineer. Yeah.
Very cool. All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry I interrupted. Go ahead,
No,
continue.
no, you're good because you reminded me that I did a similar thing. So I started in QA, and then I went into front end development, but then I actually, after a year and a half, got asked to move into what's called customer success. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that as a
No,
thing.
tell us about that.
So customer success is yeah, he said, nah, it's cool. So customer success is essentially post-sales support, if you will. So sort of pre-sales and what they call like integrations engineers. Sometimes they're like the ones that help make sure that the client or the customer has what they need, and we can do the deal and we progress. Customer success is kind of rides along with them through their journey. Usually after they've got it set up. A lot of times it's used for like upselling, or like cross selling. So like if they come in for one product, customer success, your job is to kind of be their partner. So if they have problems, they come to you. They don't usually go to the salesperson. That's why it's called
Oh,
customer
cool.
success. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
I feel like I
yeah.
continue to talk to a salesperson a lot, so I kind of want one of those people.
Yeah, no, customer success are way better, but they're harder to get to, because they're typically post sales. Like, hey, you're a customer now, we're on the same team. And a lot of times you actually are their advocate like if they want a feature, for example, it's your job to say like, hey, giant, customer really wants this feature. Here's why, and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Very
So
cool.
yeah. So yeah, customer success, and then pre-sales, and then partner engineering, which is pretty much the same thing as pre-sales engineering. And I'll throw one more title at you, which is a technical account manager. I've been one of those too.
Oh,
And that is basically pre-sales. But in my case, it was post-sales support for a giant client. My job was basically just to like, anytime they needed a debug of like, hey, our report's broken, it was, all right, go get Doug and he'll go fix your report. Um, so yeah, that was sort of my experience. And then just before software, I actually did recruiting for 3 years. So my whole job was companies came to us with roles they wanted to fill, and it was my job to fill candidates for that. I did everything like sales, executive stuff, C-suite, VP, you name it. But I really carved out sort of my area was technical kind of devs. That's what I did a lot of recruiting in. And
cool.
that's how I backed my way into the industry, is that um, after talking to these people, I was like, this seems so much more interesting than what I was doing. Cause I was doing a ton of cold calls. Like I was that person not in your inbox being annoying, but like I'd call you at work and be like, hey, like, do you want a new job? But I would try to be nice about it, and I would message you like I
And
DM
this
you
is
first.
before you were QA?
Yeah, yeah. So I did that that was my first gig out of school. Was recruiting. Yeah, I did that for 3 years. Yeah.
How much studying and like self-learning or like school did you have to do to get into a QA position?
So I did a lot of self-study. I actually wanted to be a network engineer for a minute. So I did a bunch of like network route switch stuff. I was all ready to get my CCNA and like order a tower and a rack and all that. Um, but then I ended up doing a boot camp. Actually, that was 6 months, but it was through a university.
Okay.
Um, and it was candidly, it was because I was going to grad school at the time for something else because I don't use that degree at all. And they overcharged me on my tuition. So they just sent me like a big check for like 10 grand. And I was like, 20. So I was like, 10 grand, let's buy a new laptop. Um, and then I enrolled in the boot camp with the rest of the money. So my girlfriend, now wife, was not super pleased about that, but it worked out. So
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah. So and I think that's kind of where I really combine the experiences. So the recruiting is, if you ever have a chance to like talk to a recruiter that's good, like definitely do that, because you just learn so much about the hiring process. Like, the postings you see online, those are either just to see what's out there. I'm sure we've unfortunately heard about this, where companies just kind of want to see like, oh, what's the market like? How much does, an SDE2 cost these days? And then they'll just kind of not hire anybody.
Wow.
Um, we would, a lot of times for clients, we would have the position already filled, and then they would do a posting because you're legally obligated to do a posting for a certain amount of time. So it just really educated me on sort of how companies hire, and they're really bad at hiring too. So they just don't know what they're doing. They ghost people, and yeah. So the recruiting was really helpful because I got really good at getting interviews and knowing how to get kind of past the whole like application process. Um, when I graduated my boot camp, I actually already had a job. I had that QA job, because I had already done like all that networking stuff. So I'll definitely go through like um, the sort of the two businesses that I run today. But yeah, that's really where I'd love to, if you guys have questions, like call them out. Like that's what I got really good at, was sourcing leads, finding jobs, and like I recruited myself into the industry. But I've never or yeah, I don't think so. Every single job I've ever had was reaching out through somebody that I knew, or I just cold outreach somebody and just said I want to go work there.
Oh,
Um,
nice. Yeah. Does
yeah,
anybody have any questions so far?
I do, I do.
go for it.
Hi, Doug. My name is Jay. How how would you cold message someone?
Hmm.
That's quite
Yes,
there.
yeah, no, it's a great question. So generally speaking, I would kind of build out like the type of position I wanted. So like if you're looking for like an entry level dev or junior level dev, I'd go look at what companies were hiring, and I kind of build out a list of companies that I want to go work for. So if for example, if you wanted to go work for a big company, you can go do that. Or what I try to do is kind of try to find smaller, medium-sized companies. And then I would just go on LinkedIn and I would just look for software engineering manager, VP of software. It's a little bit counterintuitive, but it's actually easier to reach out to people the higher they are up in an organization. Like if you hit up like a engineering manager or even like a lead, like they're just super busy. So typically what I would do is I'd send them a message. I would try to weave in something about like their company or their post. But the best advice I can give when you're doing a cold outreach is don't just message them saying, I'd love to work there. What I usually will do is I'd message them, and I have templates. If you guys are interested, I can send them after we wrap up here. I'd message them and say, hey, I was looking at this company. How has your experience been so far? Just kind of leave it open-ended. And then once you kind of have a little bit of back and forth, because you're going to send a bunch of messages that people aren't going to respond to, right? But yeah, the message of, can you help me, understand what your role looks like today? Or, hey, heard you guys had layoffs. Like, how's that going? Anything you can do to get a conversation going. That's the best way to do a cold outreach, because I've actually had a lot of times people reach out and say, it's terrible, don't come here. And then I'll just be like, all right, well, I'm glad I asked. And actually, I do this when I'm interviewing too. If I'm interviewing at a company, I'll go message like a couple people from that company and even just say, hey, I'm interviewing, do you have like a minute to chat? And I'll just like talk to them, or you could just DM them.
I
Yeah.
ask my interviewers, I ask like, what's the worst thing about the company?
Right.
You can tell by like how much they hesitate.
Yeah.
Like
What
before they start answering. Yeah.
Yeah. Do I tell her? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that answer your question, Jay, or is there anything else you are wondering about?
Yeah. That answered it. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah. No, I found the outreach to other people, and you'll get a more candid response too, because the people that are interviewing you are like, it's either recorded or it's on a company laptop, so they don't want to go too crazy on it. So cool. So what I'd like to do is I'll kind of just show you guys a little bit of the process for how I built this sort of lead generation company. I don't know if we teased that at all. I know it was in the notes before, but Callie, I don't know if I can share my screen. Is that a thing?
You can try.
Okay. Because sometimes
I think
Zoom...
at some point I changed the it says all participants. So yeah, you should be able to.
Alrighty. Cool.
It's a running theme that every single week someone tries to share and then it blocks them.
Yeah, it's only been like 7 years of remote work, like with COVID. We should have it figured out.
I'll get it one day.
Well, not you, it's Zoom, right? They just like changed at least it's not Teams. So I'll give you guys a kind of high level. So I got my most current position actually through a new way that I've sourced jobs. I've never done this before, but I would just query LinkedIn for how to find organic posts. And what I mean by that are when people are just saying, hey, I'm hiring, message me if you're interested. I think we've all probably seen something like along those lines, or they'll have a position tagged there. But the key there is you don't want to apply to that position. You want to sort of search for that. So I'm gonna give you guys a little sneak peek into how I aggregate these lists. So just real quick off the top. So NextGig is a lead generation platform that essentially expands your network of people a little bit. So it's all the people you're connected with on LinkedIn, all that good stuff. But what I do is I go and pull, I think about 7,000 connections on LinkedIn, give or take. When I was a recruiter, I just went nuts and connected with everybody. But what I do is I look for posts that they're just saying, hey, I'm hiring, and they're not necessarily posting a specific position. And then what I do is I put this on a list. And I have 2 tiers. I have a free, which is like the last month's give or take. And then I have like a paid one, which is like the whole database for whatever, like 6 months that I've been doing this, which is like 500 plus leads. But essentially when you get this list is you'll get the titles, the companies, the compensation, and if it's there. But the real value is the contact name and email address. So to Jay's question about how do you do cold outreach, LinkedIn DMs are great. What's even better though is the company email. So if you can get their company email, I don't usually send people to like a personal email address. I think that's a little whatever. But at least when I'm at a company, if I'm not involved in hiring, I don't get a lot of emails from people outside my company. So the chance that you're going to get a response is just much, much higher. So anyway, you build out the list, and then it's up to your discretion to kind of how to use this list. But that's kind of what I want to show today, is how I build this list. So you guys can, I'll give you guys the link so you can see it. But then just to kind of give you an idea of how I go about sourcing these lists, if that makes sense. Any questions on that before I hop in there? Cool. All right. So let me pull up this list. So I'm assuming most people have LinkedIn. I can't tell. You guys seeing my LinkedIn, or are you still seeing the old? Okay, cool. So if you're logged into LinkedIn, what you're going to do is go to the top search bar, and you're just going to look for whatever title you're interested in. So we'll just go with software developer, and then you're going to do a keyword search for hiring. And as I'm sure a lot of us are familiar with, anytime you use quotes, it will look for that keyword. So you're just going to hit search, and then we're going to go ahead and filter this down by posts up here at the top. And then once you do that, we're going to filter it even further from, I tend to do like date posted. I'll sort of sort by latest. Top match isn't bad. Like if you've been liking job posts or anything like that, the algorithm's going to just serve it up to you. But yeah, you go to latest, then you hit show. And then pretty much what you're looking for is like, let's see if this guy works there. So yeah, so he's a senior manager. I stick away from recruiters just because a lot of times those jobs aren't real, or they put, a bunch of recruiters on the same position. But this is literally what you're looking for is, hey, I'm hiring for this position. And then he even gives you like additional details, which is cool. And then he even throws his email in here. So like you don't even have to do any work here. So typically what I'll do is I will grab this person's name. I will typically just connect with them. LinkedIn has changed it now. So if you add a note, you only get 5 of these a month, which is crazy. Yeah, this kind of broke my system a little bit. So I'm glad that I actually have through Callie's connection, I have another, Sarah's going to be helping me out with some of this automation work. Yeah, I talked to her. She's super cool.
Wait, I'm so excited to hear more. Also, guys, Sarah is amazing. She's a data engineer, and she's going to be a guest speaker, I think like next week or the week after. But anyways, continue.
Yeah, no, Sarah's awesome. When I mentioned to Callie I was looking to automate this process, she mentioned she's a data engineer and all that good stuff. So typically I won't do the note just because we're limited, but this is where that cold outreach would be of, hey, Pradeep, saw you were at so-and-so, just curious, you've been there for just over a year. What's your experience been? Just again, to get the conversation going. But because he's already got his email in here, you can bypass all that and just send it directly to his email. And you can see another co-founder. So they'll do the position typically, and they'll do like links. But see how he says, ping me, let me know if you're interested so the difference here between not only applying is that when you're applying, we all know we're just applying to a black hole. And I have seen many, many times where even the applicant tracking system, that's the thing that reads your resume when you do apply online, is either not hooked up or it's not working. I've even seen it where it's hooked up to the wrong position. So the wrong hiring manager is getting the wrong resumes. You'll literally never even get to the person, even if you want to. But the difference is these people that you're reaching out to, when you search it in this way, they are looking for people to reach out for them. So it's not like you're going to DM somebody at Amazon and they're going to be like, don't bother me. Like, I don't want, like you've seen people on LinkedIn, they'll say like no recruiters or, whatever. It's the internet. People have their right to privacy. But these are warm leads. So if you message this person, you're almost guaranteed to, if not get a response, like they're going to at least read your message.
I feel like we should do an experiment. He just posted 9 minutes ago. Should we message him?
Oh, for sure.
Also, I'm sorry, I'm in such a mood right now. I'm like really
no,
interrupting like crazy right now.
No, my wife knows I'm the first one to.
Okay.
I also just love volunteering for things, because if you've ever been a speaker, it really stinks when you're like, anybody want to volunteer? And then everyone's like, nah, I'm good. Like, you do your thing. So yeah. So what I would do here is just to kind of give you like my thought process.
Yes.
So he's a co-founder, which is great. That means he's going to be pretty high within the org. He's in LA, which again, I tend to stick with US just because that's what I know. Been there for 2 years, you can even go crazy and just see like, okay, he went to school. You know, if they went to the same college as you, or if you've got a mutual connection, that's easy. But what you're really looking to do is, again, this customized message. So we're going to add a note. We'll say, hi, Amin. Saw your post about, make sure I remember what it was. So Salesforce developer, gross. No offense if that's your jam, but that is a very specific niche. I think they have their own programming language, which is pretty wild. And senior dev, and then the senior IT and security engineer. So, and then the one that he posted about was Salesforce. Okay, so about some openings at, geez, I can't see the name from here. Kobu.
It'd be funny
I
to
tried to,
spell the name wrong.
yeah, right. Oh, that's the only thing you want to make sure is like get that right. And yeah, so Savi posted a few of the openings. I was curious. There's a couple ways you can go. One is a co-founder, so you don't necessarily want to know what his experience is like because he probably founded the company, but you can always just say, I was curious about what the timelines for these roles were, or how the search is going, just kind of a generic. He's asking for information about position. I was curious about and you can pick the one you want. We'll go senior software developer position. If not for me, I know few friends that were affected by a layoff
Ooh, that's good. You're
that would be
hired.
open to a conversation. So anything that you can put in here that we used to call this in recruiting sort of deposits and withdrawals. It's very common in sales too. Like you don't want to ask someone for something before you just like before you've given them anything. Now I'm over the character limit, shocker. That's what I do. But anything you can do to pique their interest and even give them something. Like I've even like subscribed to people's like newsletters before. And because I was trying to get into cybersecurity, I was laid off in October before I got my most recent position. And I was really trying to get into cybersecurity because that's just a really great industry right now. Like it seems like every other industry is kind of hit or miss, but cybersecurity is just exploding. And it was so hard to just even talk to these people. So I subscribed to this dude's newsletter that I followed on LinkedIn. I like read like, I cursed, I read through it very briefly. I just shot him a thing saying, hey, read your newsletter about whatever, really liked it. And now I talked to that dude. His name's Ross. I talk to him like every couple months or so. Anyway, I would say I would love to learn more. Actually, we'll just keep this part. I actually like that in there. That's too many characters. There we go. All right. We'll just say, if not for me, I know of friends that are also looking. And then typically I would leave this with like, do you want to connect or chat? Probably not going to happen. But what I'll also do in here is I'll say, do you know if this position is too much? If I'll go with it's remote. Now it's not great because it's a yes or no, right? But anything you can ask that's just like gonna get you an answer, right? Like, because if he's like, oh, it's in the Bay Area, like I'm out. I'm in, upstate New York.
How cool
So
would
yeah,
this be if you get this position?
I mean, we'll see what the compensation is, but that's the other thing too is, and I'll just be like upfront is like, it's bad to say, but I'm always looking. I'd never gotten laid off before. And I was laid off in October and it just took me by complete surprise. But I don't do what I'm doing right now all the time, but I will always just kind of just see what's out there. I don't waste people's time with interviews. I think that's kind of whatever. If you do want to practice interviewing, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But yeah, that's kind of the process. I'm just trying to find.
You have a question in the chat. Emery wants to know, what is your success rate with this approach?
So I was actually going to pull up my messaging and just kind of scroll through it for a
Oh, I
bit.
love that.
Yeah.
Is this weird that this is my favorite chat so far?
Hey, I mean,
I love a little a live experiment.
Yeah, I should have planned it better, but honestly, that's
This is
how
more fun than a talk.
Yeah, I much prefer that. The other thing you can do as well is you can, oh, there's my thing with Callie. Like if you, you want to see how this works, is I saw Callie and was like, oh, this looks cool. So you could also comment on these too. So you don't necessarily have to send them a DM, especially if you're open to work or you don't care what your job thinks. I wouldn't do that because I wouldn't want to see, but it's literally this kind of stuff. Like, let's just see. I'm trying to actually, hold on one second. I'm trying to see if I can show you the one that I sent to my boss.
I do think that turning the
There we
open
go.
to work on without the green banner does make a difference, because when I wasn't open to work at my last
Mhm.
job, and then I was like, I think I might want to start looking for a new
Oh,
thing,
that
and it
helps
turned
you?
on, and then recruiters started reaching out even though I had no green banner.
Oh,
It
really?
really was like a flag that, like, okay, I can talk to her.
That's interesting. So I'll just I want to find the post. Sorry for the scrolling if that's going to give somebody a headache, but there we go. All right, where is he? There we go. Okay. So I just wanted to show this because this is my real job right now. Is literally this is sort of how I stumbled into. I was kind of doing this already. Or actually I literally was. So the guy that posted this 9 minutes ago, this literally happened to me back in November. And I literally was just like, hey, I would love to talk. This was at, I don't know, 2 or 3 in the afternoon Eastern. We scheduled a Google Meet call at like 7 p.m. and I talked to him like that night. So he's like, oh, like, you know, I'll send you a DM. And also, this is another pro tip, which you probably see before, but if you can get your friends to like comment on stuff,
Ooh.
like you guys can help each other out. Huge plus because the algorithm loves interaction. So if you like something, if you comment, it'll bubble it up. And the other thing you want to look for when you do these kind of posts, and again, recency is great. So like I'm the first person to like this, right? But in this case, 20 people like this. It was 7 months ago. So like I know he's going to see this. Anyway, just wanted to show you this is literally how I got my job today. And then if we go into my messages, this is my conversation with him. Look at my calendar, book the thing, boom. Now they didn't have an opening, but the key is it doesn't really matter what they're posting for. Even the fact that they're hiring is good. I actually kept in touch with him for, let's see, I messaged him in November and actually was hired in March. So it's always good just to have these connections. There's actually a really awesome recruiter. Her name is, I put her on here because I like her so much. Her name is Kendall. I connected with her and literally like she was awesome. Like she would message me with all kinds of stuff. Like, so here, this was my cold message to Kendall. I just said, hey,
Oh,
haven't
this is your
chat.
data dog contact. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So if anybody wants to interview at Datadog, I will hook you up because Kendall will pretty much talk to whoever I send her. So if that's your thing, let me know. I had
That'd be
like
so cool.
3 of my friends interview her with her. Um, anyway, so this I connected with her, just sent her a connection request. This is how you can get around like the message thing. Is once you connect with them, then hit them up with the message because then your character limit's off. But anyway, just say, hey, saw your posts. And this is different because it's a recruiter, but just said, hey, wanted to see what's up. Now, he didn't respond. So my rule is if I'm unemployed, once a week is that's okay. Like once a week is okay. Don't go nuts with it. But I was employed, so I think this was like a couple weeks after. I don't think I DM'd her the same day. Um, anyway, she was like, hey, 20-minute check, boom, no problem. Send her my resume, do the thing. And also had my friends connect that way as well. I was able to just send her stuff. There's Sarah. I haven't been looking in a minute. But let me
She's
see
gonna
if
save you so much time. I'm so excited for
oh
this.
yeah, no, it's awesome. Let me see. Alrighty. Trying to see. Uh, yeah, like I think this person reached out to me. Obviously not prepared. Let me
Yeah, guys,
see.
on the note of commenting on each other's posts, it is a really great way to get your engagement up. So like comment, and then I always, well, not always, but I try to always respond to comments too, and respond to comments with like a question to kind of
Mhm.
keep the conversation going.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, great point. Um, Let me see. Another great way to do that too is if you just see a bunch of recruiters will almost always connect with you. So you can go that route if you're kind of apprehensive about just messaging somebody you don't know. I'm trying to find one in particular. Um,
does anybody else have any
yeah, this
questions
is a
while I'm
good one
looking?
too.
Feel
Yeah.
free to put it in the chat too.
Yeah. So this is yeah, no, please feel free. I don't think I can Zoom is whatever, so I'm not I don't know where the chat is to be
I'll
honest.
let you know. No
Okay,
worries.
cool. So this is another one where she was in cybersecurity. I just really wanted to get into cybersecurity. Like, have you enjoyed your time there so far? She was like, yeah, no problem. Here's a big blurb, right? Like, whatever. And then, yeah, I just kept in touch with her. She passed it along to the hiring manager, whatever, didn't turn out. But it's literally, I mean, I could go, there's a bunch of these where like once you connect with someone too, like once they kind of like know you a little bit, you can come back to them in a little bit. And it's super nice to have like a warm intro somewhere. Um, one other thing I'll mention different Sarah. Um, yeah, so this is where I messaged her and I said, "Hey, how'd it go?" Um, and she said she got laid off. So she was able to give me like the inside scoop on the company and like how they weren't doing well. So you just get a lot of really good information doing this. Um, but yeah, it's honestly, it's really, it's really a great way to do it. It is harder to do if you don't have a ton of LinkedIn connections, which is why that's where NextGig comes in. Is I kind of do this for you. Um, but yeah, any questions on that? I'm trying to find one message in
Yep.
particular.
Another one in the chat. What made you transition to product management? What made you commit another product manager, or were you looking for a change?
Yeah, great question. So for me, even when I did my boot camp, always been a nerd, lifelong nerd. My wife, girlfriend at the time asked me when I was going to stop playing video games, and I told her when they stopped making them, because they're awesome. And I have all the consoles. I have a gaming PC. I have a Steam Deck. Shout out to Steam Deck. The thing is awesome. It's great when your kids fall asleep because you can play console games on your couch. But yeah, to answer your question, I pretty much knew when I got into dev that I wasn't going to do it forever. Um, I had through recruiting, I had seen people make the progression from software engineer into sales engineer, or even just sales directly into product. But I don't know if you've ever had a manager that didn't do what you've done before. It's very frustrating. They don't understand the job and they just don't really manage well. So I wanted to move up, and I don't say up in terms of like directly vertically, but I wanted to be like code adjacent, but I wanted to know development code before I did that. I noticed there was a big difference between product managers that had a coding or development background and those that don't. It just also changes the kind of roles you can get. You can kind of think of having a development background sort of like having a math degree. No one really knows what it means, but they know you're smart and you can do a lot of things. So you can kind of do whatever you want. So you can go from development into whatever you want after that. Again, it's easier to do that in-house. But yeah, I really wanted to build things. I just wasn't um, super into like actually doing the building itself, if that makes sense. And there are also people that are just way better at code than me. So I was a really good front engineer, and I loved doing it. But I just really enjoyed kind of the cross collaboration piece than like the designing. And like as a product manager, that's what I get to do is I get to decide what we're building, but more so I get to, what I love is unblocking people. And so you're kind of like a conduit for a bunch of different people. And I just love doing that. I think with dev is really awesome, but you're in this one lane and you kind of stay in that lane. So yeah.
Would you recommend in this market, those who've gone to boot camp haven't had as much success getting a dev role, applying to some like product roles, or are there any other adjacent coding adjacent roles that would be kind of maybe a better market right now, or no?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And that's actually how I got into QA is that I wasn't able to get a development role quickly. I was moving and getting married, and my wife's getting a new job at the same time. So I really needed a job. So yeah, I would say QA is great. It's also, I personally liked QA because, especially today, not so much like 5 or 10 years ago, but QA is very much valued in today's kind of like software world. Like QA is involved a lot earlier nowadays. Like it used to be like they just like threw code over and like figure it out. QA is really good. I would say any kind of sales engineer, partner engineer, technical account manager, basically anything that has a technical aspect to it, it's a great role to get into. And you can easily pivot from there too. Smaller the company, the more mobility. So, if you go work at, I don't know, Microsoft, pick your big company, like, yeah, that's a hard time. But yeah, no, there's a lot of good kind of roles in there that you can do.
Right. And then in the chat we have, do you recommend applying to jobs outside of the country? I know you
mm.
mentioned you usually stick with the US.
Yeah, I don't, just because I don't have any network there. So it's really hard for me to be like, oh, I'm from New York. Like, yeah, so I typically don't apply to that. Um, I was gonna say, was there a first part of that question I missed, or was there more to that?
Nope, that was
Sorry.
it.
Okay, cool. There was something else I was thinking of, but yeah, that's kind of the process in a nutshell. Like I said, for NextGig, if you just go to this free one, if you add your email, you'll get access to the last month's leads. And I also send out updates, kind of like I would say monthly, I send out the update for the newest positions. But also if anybody's just interested in on kind of coming up with a plan, I'm happy to work with you to kind of show you like more in depth, or you just have questions. I also, like I said, used to be a recruiter, so I'm I'm good at making resumes too. I will say I don't put as much stock in my resumes than I used to. Um, just because you can export your LinkedIn profile as a PDF. And also, if you're not actually applying anywhere, it doesn't matter all that much. Because if you get that first interview, the resume is just a, hey, who are you? It's not that critical. Like you don't have to worry about like the keywords and all that good stuff.
I'm gonna
So,
shoot my shot for everybody in the room, but Next Gig is a startup. Are you hiring any junior developers?
so I don't have any paid work right now. But there are things like the data automation thing that I'm looking for. If you just want to practice getting good at this, I I have had people kind of do lead gen for me, and I will pay like for the leads that you get and kind of filling it in. But I don't have, I mean, I'd be more than happy to come up with something, Callie, if you want to do like a cross collaboration or just like I'm not hiring from like I don't have the money to hire anybody full
That's fair.
time.
I don't either. I'm trying though.
Yeah, no, but if anybody's interested, this is built with Gatsby. That's kind of my stack. Like I said, full stack JavaScript. I kind of cut my teeth in. My mentor was very hard on like learning vanilla JS first, so I knew that inside and out. Um, what else? If you're interested in templates, or I would also recommend, this is super outdated, so don't judge me. But if you don't have a portfolio, I would definitely get one. Um, so I'll show you this again, no judgment. This was my portfolio when I was looking for stuff. What I would recommend is you're more than welcome to build your own site. I think it's cool. But if you don't want to, this is my favorite source of them. It's called htmlup.net, which feels like very outdated. But this one guy built them and they're awesome. Like they're mobile ready. It's a lot of jQuery, so sorry about it. But it's great. Like they're ready to go. It's copyright free. So it's not what I want to do. But yeah, they have all kinds of stuff. I really like them if you're just looking for like they have blog ones too. But yeah, you can literally download these and you can swap it out with your own stuff super easy. Um, and then I just did like a, here's some of my work, and I would like, list out technologies. At this point, I had my web dev business up and running, which I do have. And that actually I would say, Callie, if you are looking for hiring,
Yes.
um, I am definitely down to work with people on new client work, because a lot of time, another reason that I got into product management and no longer do dev is I don't have 4 and 5 hour time blocks in my day. I
Well,
have
I know a
kids.
lot of software engineers that do.
Right.
So
Yeah.
maybe we
So
can connect.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, for sure. So unrelated to NextGig, but the other sort of this is the first business I started, was I just started building websites for people. Um, and I'm more than happy in another session or offline, if you guys want, I can show you how to find side work to make businesses websites. That
Would love that.
might be more interesting for you. It's super easy. All you have to do is Google businesses in your area and just look for really bad websites. And then you just message them about it and say, hey, I usually call them, which is not some people's jam, but as a recruiter, I think I made in 3 years 35,000 outbound calls. So like I'll call anybody. I don't care. I'll call, literally anyone. But yeah, I can, usually it takes me about 30 to 50 calls and I get a website. And I usually charge, I don't know, 1,500 to 3 grand is kind of my sweet spot for websites. So even if you can stack a couple of these up, it's super nice income. And then I also get the reoccurring for hosting. So if you guys ever use like Netlify or another hosting provider, great way to kind of just like build your revenue for that. I also would put my resume on my portfolio if you guys aren't comfortable with that. highly recommended. This is old. But you'll just get more connections that way. And everybody knows, you got your GitHub and all that stuff on here. So yeah, that's what I would say is oh, and then this is just my side business where I'll put like all my projects on here for other like local businesses around me. So yeah, that's all I've got. So
Very cool. Well, so does anybody have any other questions? This has been a super exciting and informative session.
I hope so.
I do have a question. I'm so sorry to just jump in and interject, but I
Yeah,
actually
please do.
saw that he has what is it called, gigs that we can help businesses create website. I'm actually doing something like that at the moment
Oh, nice.
for a business, and I'm very interested in doing that. So can you link me up, please?
Yeah, actually, I mean, Callie, if you want me, if you're cool with me stealing the last 12 minutes, I'll give you guys like the quick and dirty on it.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, so I will reshare. So don't judge me, but this is my Google Sheets list for all of my sourcing. So basically what I do is I just go to Google and I just look for, I type in where you live, and then I will typically pick an industry. So trades are great, plumbers, electricians. I try to stay away from restaurants because I don't feel like doing menus. I don't feel like doing DoorDash integrations. I want simple static sites that I get paid and then I can start charging for hosting. So in this case, I typically will go with like something like landscaping. I'll go more businesses, and then I'll just literally scroll through here. What you're looking for initially is anyone that doesn't have a website button. That's going to be where I start. People that don't have websites are either super old school, like they don't have an email, or they have like an AOL
Brothers
account.
Lawn Care and Landscaping.
Boom.
Let's go.
Well, they're closed, but I can almost guarantee you that they're going to be on my list because they don't have a website. Like this is so easy. I kid you not. Again, the phone calls are kind of rough if you're not used to them. But once you have a portfolio website, something they can send you to kind of give you legitimacy, super easy. So find all these, copy their names, copy their phone numbers. Then once you do this is I literally build out a list of like, here's all the places I've called. And then like, here's one small and tall power washing company. They had nothing. I just finished theirs and there you go. So
Beautiful.
look at that. And it gets even easier if you have like 3 or 4 flavors of templates. Cause then I have a starting point that gives me like nav, 3 content sections and a footer. All I have to do is swap out the theme colors and then whatever else they want. So yeah, source in here, get all your leads, just put them in there. And you're just, again, looking for no websites or really, really bad ones. And yeah, it's pretty easy.
Oh my gosh, is Sarah going to help you with this too?
She could, but like, look at this awesome website that is fixed with pixel that I'm guessing is like 900 pixels because that's how they made websites back in the day. Yeah, that's another one.
ERP Promise.
Oh, wait till you see this one. This one's great. I've been trying to sell her on letting me help her with her website. She runs this website. Really nice lady. I think her name is Cindy. She runs this website on a 2000 something MacBook. I kid you not. When I offered, because this is 5 minutes from my house, I went over there and was like, hey, can I help you out? Because what I'll also do.
I love this website so much.
It's so good. And what's crazy is she has like almost a gig worth of like pictures. She has so many pictures in here. It's insane. She has like a whole section on like, yeah, customer projects. So many. She's like, well, I couldn't do that. Then I'd get rid of my boats section. And she had like so many. Yeah. So
another idea could be, I used to actually be a woodworker, and I was on Etsy. So there's like a ton of people who are like on these platforms that charge a lot of money per sale that are like looking to have a website, but like don't have the time. Like there were years that I was like, I need a website, but I'm like, I don't want to build one and I don't want to pay for it.
Yep.
But like, if you're looking for work and it's going to be one of your startup projects, you might be able to like get your foot in the door there.
Yep. Yeah. 100% too. That's a great idea. And I'll just say too, this is super easy to do if you guys are even just doing basic websites. You can even take one of those templates, the HTML5 1-ups, and just customize them for somebody. Like even if you're just doing super basic stuff, you're way ahead of everybody else, especially if you search locally.
I like that she just has this like wood print.
Everywhere. Oh,
like she didn't stretch it.
Hold on, where's the? I'll show
Doug,
you.
I have a question.
Yeah, go for it. While I
Uh,
find the worst website you've
how
ever seen in your life.
do
Sorry,
you
go
make
ahead.
like a UX templates or like a Figma design to show it to a client?
So I don't. Um, I
And how do you
will.
communicate with them?
Yeah, so it's a great point. So typically, what I'll do with somebody is I will two things. One, not a designer. That is a real job, and that is a job for a reason. I am awesome at hitting mocks. Like I will be pixel perfect with mocks. I'm a little bit OCD, but I am not good at designing websites. So typically, what I will
Mm,
do is I will show them some of my work and be like, "Hey, did you like any of these?" Or I'll just say, "Are there any websites in your industry that you do like?" Because chances are the reason they're getting a website is people have been bugging them for a long time, or they have like a competitor that they know, like, oh, well, so and so has a website that they really like. Um, so no, I don't show them mocks, but usually what I would do is I'll look for similar companies in their industry and kind of go from there. Little pro tip is once you do get a client, like I did an ice cream shop near me, I will
Oh,
also
I
do
love that.
right. This is actually they do their own Instagram and it's awesome. But I had no idea what to do for an ice cream website. I'm like, I don't know what to do for that. I generally just do like pictures. Check out these little sprinkles, they move. Um, but I found this site where I used to live, and it's Mitchell's Ice Cream. Shout out Cleveland, Ohio. That's where I'm from. And they had this really cool, I just liked their site. So if you look at them, there's a lot of similarities between the site and that site. Specifically this grid. I really like this 4x4 like thing that they had going on. So I straight up just copied that. Um, that's typically what I will do is my pro tip is if you get a client and you don't know what to do and they also don't know what to do, just Google what they do in another city. So like, for example, I did this, oh, not that one. Uh, if I can type.
So your client is an ice cream shop, so you search for another ice cream website
Yep,
reference.
exact in another town. So I did
I
this
see.
one, right? But I was like landscaping, like I don't know, like oh, also use Chat GPT to write the copy. Don't bother writing like your own. That's crazy. Don't do that. But I was like, I don't know what to put down for like, like landscaping. Like, I don't know. I just don't know what to do. So I literally just Googled, my go-to is Minnesota. There's a huge tech scene there. Target's based there, Best Buy's there. UHG is there. There's huge tech companies in Minnesota. So I will almost always be like landscaping Minnesota and I'll just like, or excuse me, Minneapolis, and I'll just go look and I'll just like look until I find a good one. And I'll just be like, oh, like I like that one. I didn't like that one. And I'm like, oh, I like this font. I'll
Oh, I
literally
like this one.
see, and I'll literally go in here and be like, what font family is this? Let me just go look and see what they have. And then like if they're using a custom font, then like rip, it's sad. But like that's what I'll do. I'm not a designer. So yeah, long-winded way to say just go look and see what everybody else did that looks nice and just copy that.
Very cool. All right, in the chat we have. Oh wait, we've got a few. I'm so sorry, guys. I was so captivated.
Check out this. Check out
Okay.
this bad boy
First
here.
one, how do you maintain their domain? Do you provide that service as well, or do you give them control?
Yeah. So two things I do. Um, Netlify is what I use for hosting. If you guys are familiar with them, they are like today's GoDaddy. That's not terrible. They're free, so I think you get like 100 gigs worth of stuff. Which, if you know a website, if you make a good one, it's not that big. All of my clients are on here, so literally, like I don't know, I have like 20 on here. So what I do is I will link it to my GitHub repository for that client. And then I just deploy through here because it's free. If it's something like this one, which is a Shopify site, I will use their webhooks for like deployment. They have some cool stuff in here where you can actually build a webhook in for Shopify. So every time they publish to their Shopify store, it will automatically rebuild. But yeah, to answer your question, I do Netlify hosting. It's free. I will charge them $50 for a normal site. I used to do like 10 and 20, and then somebody,
A month?
yes. Yep.
Get it, Doug. Get it.
Oh, let me tell you, I was doing a plastic surgery office. I didn't actually get the deal, but they paid me $1,000 to like do one page. So I was like, cool. Um, and they were paying $2,600 a month for hosting and maintenance. And I was like,
What?
um,
What are they hosting?
literally well, if you want to see,
Yeah.
it is not great. I think the whole site's like 20 megs. It's not big. It's really not.
Like, do you even need a back end for this? I'm so confused.
No, you don't. So to answer your question on the hosting, so I charge $50 a month for pure static site hosting. I charge $100 a month if you want your own CMS. And again, I know we're pressing on time, and I am gonna have to go relieve my wife. But if you are interested in a content management system, I cannot recommend Strappy more. They are what's called a headless CMS, meaning it's not tied to the front end. This is my strong preference. So all you have to do is download Strappy and kind of build out your content. And then once you do that, it builds automatically endpoints that your front end can go hit and populate. Super easy. I have a Google Cloud script that will build this for me. So I charge $100 a month for that. Just because the SQL hosted thing in Google cost me like $10 a month. So yeah.
Oh my gosh, I have so much to learn from you, Yoda.
Yeah,
All right.
well, it took me years to kind of figure out what works. So yeah.
All right. Well, I'm very sorry that there are a few questions that I missed in the chat.
Oh, I'll throw in my
So one is, do you have a contract for the service you provide? That's probably a quick one. Yes.
contract. So what I do is my wife's a lawyer. So I just threaten them with that a bunch. No, I'm just kidding. So I will just give them an invoice, and I do my invoice and estimates through a site called Wave.
Okay.
That's also free. So I don't do a contract. But actually I would recommend, because I screwed that up royally when I first started, is that I did not have predefined payment terms. So I would just be like, oh, half up front, half when I'm done. And then if they didn't buy the domain or something dumb at the end, I would just be like waiting for the other half of my payment. So I do put in my estimates, I'll say, first payment on this, second payment on that. I'll kind of bake those into the estimate, and then I invoice through there too. Which last thing I'll say on that is you can do automatic reoccurring bills. So for my hosting, I use that site, and it just automatically bills them every month, and then they can opt in with a credit card. So it's actually on auto pay, which is pretty dope.
All right.
can
Well,
see
thank you
chat now.
so much, Doug. This has been great.
Yep.
Please go relieve your wife. I still hear my
Yes.
child up as well, so I'm gonna
Yes.
go help too. But
I will.
everybody, thank you for joining. I don't really have anything to plug today. Doug, do you have anything you want to plug today?
Well, you've already heard my tired dad speech. But no, I just threw my email in the chat. Feel free to hit me up. Same on LinkedIn if you have any questions. Just let me know. I'm happy to help you out. The one thing I will say is that software can seem really hard to get into, but once you're in, people are very supportive. So don't be afraid to ask for help. And I try to do that where, like, I just wish that there was somebody I could ask questions. So definitely feel free to hit me up. It's not a bother at all. So
Awesome. All right. I will see everyone next week. And yeah, bye guys.
Thank you, Doug.
yeah, thank you, everybody. Nice to meet everybody.